I'm going to go over the single most important thing that's critical to know for knitting wonderful, comfortable socks. And it's making sure that this part is nice and stretchy right here. And there's only one way to achieve that. And that is casting on loosely. Now, I'm going to show you an example of casting on tightly. This is how I normally cast on for most of my projects. And you'll see that the stitches that are cast on are very tough to move on my needles. They're pretty snug on there, okay? Now, to cast on loosely, if you want an extra stretchy end, you need to cast on loosely. And to cast on loosely, I'm just not going to tighten the stitches all the way. I'm going to keep them real loose on there. And there's my next one. And you want to be consistent in your tension if you can, without leaving any of the loops super loopy or super loose. There's still got to be consistent, and you can still go fast if you want. But you can see that these stitches that I just cast on are very loose, and the needle moves easily through them. And that is such a simple thing, but it is the secret to knitting very comfortable socks that are easy to take on and off. This edge right here, that's where the magic is. Now, another thing that I want to very briefly cover is that you don't necessarily have to cast onto one needle and then separate, redistribute all your needles, all your stitches onto other needles. You can just grab another knitting needle and go ahead and keep casting on to your second needle. And when I do this, when I create this join, I just make this first stitch right here extra tight, and then the others a little bit looser, because this join right here, this join point, is going to have some extra yarn in it, and I don't want one stitch being way looser than the others. So every time I join another needle, these ones in the middle are going to be, the stitches in the middle are going to be loose, and when I join another knitting needle, I'm going to make the first stitch that I cast on tight, like that, and then the other one's loose. And that's a really good tip for casting on in the round directly onto your double pointed needles.